Hello and welcome to the Red City Lifestyle Podcast. In this podcast, I bring to you the best of Las Vegas, what things to do, places to go, businesses, community leaders, people in general. And today with us, our inspiration is Casey Jade. Casey has been photographing for many, many years, and she's a staple in our community. She's a supporter of women and businesses, and I'd like her to introduce herself to us. Casey, welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I am such a huge fan of Red Rock City Lifestyle and Camilla and everybody, so I'm just so excited to be here. I absolutely love being in the community and having an impact on the women and businesses in our lives. So I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'd like you to tell our listeners a little bit about how you got started and your why. Why did you become a photographer?
So in the beginning, my why was to have more impact in the world and to create more value. I was bartending and I bartended for a few years, and I walked into the last bar that I worked at one day and just kind of had an epiphany moment of what am I doing with my life? What does this whole life mean? How can I have more impact? And I left that bar one day and I went to my mom's house and I asked her, I wanted to go back to school. It was my first time being able to have open availability. I worked for retail management before I got into the service industry. So I asked her what she thought I should go to school for. And strangely enough, she said photography, even though I had never really had like a 35 millimeter or experience, but I
Uh-huh.
had one of those little wind up cameras that you would take to the dollar photo shack. And I would always take pictures of my friends. I was in theater. I've always been really creative. So I definitely attribute all of my past 11 years of success in photography to my mom because she knows me so well. And I started college for photography with my first DSLR in a box, never even having turned it on. And the moment that I took my first portrait class and I found out that I could really influence confidence through my lens and help heal the world, that was when I was sold.
Wow, how powerful. How powerful from going to want to, make this world better and be more of an impact, but not really knowing how to do it. And then through photography, using that power, those lenses, to really help people boost their confidence. Can you please talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, I love helping any human who wants to see themselves in a new light and have more confidence in themselves boost that through my photography experiences. So I was in psychology and I have a lot of history being an empath and figuring out a lot of different modalities to heal myself. So now
Mhm.
that I have worked through a ton of those, I really love incorporating those into my clients' experiences. So I empower mostly women, but any man who also wants that empowerment is
Mhm.
absolutely able to have the experience too. But I feel like more women ask for it. I think that
Mhm.
there's more men asking for it slow in a more slow process now, but empowering them from the boardroom to the bedroom. So helping them either feel confident as the face of their business and really being passionate about why they started their business and showing that and showing their emotion and showing their passion through the lens
Mhm.
so that they can be the authority figures in their field. And then the more intimate is the part of the bedroom. So the boudoir photos, couples boudoir photos, resparking romance, resparking your connection to your feminine essence in your body, really feeling into this amazing vessel that's been carrying us for our whole lives and honoring it
Mhm.
and capturing emotions that make you feel empowered and fierce in your body so that when you have those days where you're not feeling as good, you can go back and pull up your images and say, this is me, this is my highest self, and this is who I choose to be today. So you can shift the energy.
So it's not just like, oh, bring a couple of wardrobe, alternate options, and we'll shoot a photo. So if I called you today and said, "Hey, Casey, I would love to hire you to be my photographer," how would you get the process started? What would that look like?
So I am in human design, I'm a 1-3. So with the one, that means that I am the interrogator, the questioner, the question asker, and
Mhm.
I love asking as many questions as I can to get to the bottom of what your needs are, how you want to feel, what you want to experience, all of that. So when somebody approaches me saying they need photography, that's kind of like a blanket statement. And I get the awesome responsibility to figure out what that really means to them and how I can
Mhm.
make the impact on whatever they're looking for and make that be really a truly unique experience for them. So if you were to come to me saying, hey, I would love for you to photograph me. Well, I already have 7 ideas in my head when you say that about how I would love to photograph you, but then I get to guide the conversation and say, okay, what are you looking for? And then after I ask a ton of questions to get to know you, see where you've been, see where you want to go, see how you want to experience this, then I can give suggestions as to, hey, I think this would be a really great idea, or I think this would be how we could work together. If you're not ready for a photo shoot yet because there may be too many limiting beliefs or self doubt, then there's also things that I can offer to help with that. I have a women's group that I host monthly, which is called Her Collective, Holistically Empowered and Rising. And we come together personally and professionally to really talk about the challenges, the successes, to learn together, to do journaling, and to really get vulnerable and have a safe space to be vulnerable in front of other women so that we can really move past things and then grow as individuals. So then we can work through stuff, get ready to be in front of the camera, work past all of the things, and make amazing magic together and make pictures that you never thought were possible before.
Wow, that seems like a lengthy process.
It can be depending on where my client is in the journey. If they're really ready and they already did a ton of self work and healing on themselves and they really just want to express themselves, we can totally just hop into a photo shoot. And I have done some amazing creative photo shoots with my clients in the past when they were just ready. But there's a spectrum, right? Like all of us have
Mhm.
different comfort levels and all of us have different experience levels. And being in front of the camera can be a very uncomfortable experience for people. So, one of my superpowers is that I am my most authentic, unique, goofy self all the time. So, it helps others really feel like they can let their guard down a little bit and really get
Mhm.
comfortable easily. So, the process becomes shorter because of the tools that I have.
Mm. So, would it be fair to compare you to a photography coach?
Absolutely. I think coach is just a strange word now because everybody's using it. So I've been trying to figure out like
Okay.
educator, mentor, um, things like that. Just really like something that feels more like a catalyst of change. I know, I don't know. I mean, I feel
Yeah, because you're right. The coach word is used so loosely, right?
exactly
Everybody can be a coach. You don't really
right.
need any
What does that mean?
certifications. Yeah. It's just
Well,
that this process of, breaking limiting beliefs
hmm
and giving clients tools and helping them discover themselves, all that sounds like a coaching process.
much more than photography, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an empowerment process.
Oh, I love that. And so you can actually use the name empowerment in describing your photography work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and
And
I think that
and
it's a lot more than photography.
oh, definitely the way you're describing it for sure. And how long have you been using this approach?
Well, I had to trial and error through a lot of the first years of the business to figure out what I really wanted to do versus just what people needed of photography. Because when I introduce myself as a photographer,
Mhm.
people usually have this notion that I either just shoot weddings or I shoot newborns or whatever that looks like in their head. So instead of saying that I'm a photographer now, I say I empower women from the boardroom to the bedroom to help them feel more confident in their businesses, make more money, and have more confidence in their bodies. So that's usually at least an icebreaker to be like, well, what does that mean? And how do you do that? So I get to kind of bring them into the process more than just giving the blanket statement of photography, because then they have assumptions.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that coach is kind of the same thing to where empowerment process feels more like something I would be interested in or curious about to ask questions for versus a
Mhm.
coach where it feels like I might get, you know, something that I wasn't looking for, or where, like, what experience does this person have to lead me through these things? So
Hmm.
I just try to meet people where they are.
That is so awesome. What if people don't have a wardrobe to come, like a cool set of clothes to come and shoot with? What is the option then?
Well, and there's such a huge spectrum when it comes to wardrobe, right? Because wardrobe and clothing is really what makes our personality pop, and what kind of,
Yeah.
it's the clothing makes the man, right? So it's really interesting because when I talk to people, especially in the boudoir aspect, people think that it has to be something really sexy or really provocative, or they think of those car magazines with the girls in skimpy outfits in front of the cars, which is not
Uh-huh.
empowering at all. Um,
No,
so
on the
I've
contrary.
Yeah,
On the
on the contrary,
contrary,
it's
right.
the complete opposite. Yeah, it's degrading.
Yeah.
So I've worked with women who have just wanted to do a boudoir shoot with like an oversized sweater and just show a little bit of shoulder, but like just feel into their
Oh.
bodies. And so boudoir in and of itself is such a big spectrum of just what's going to make you feel good in your body. And that really does start with the wardrobe. So that was a great question, because there's such different comfort levels. I actually had an experience, one of my only experiences ever, where I had a client who hated all her photos. And it was because, number one, the process wasn't followed. It was rushed because there was a challenge. She was in a personal development seminar or what so have you, and she was challenged to do a boudoir shoot because that was going to get her most out of her comfort zone. So
Mm.
it was like 2 days from the first call that she needed me to the shoot.
Oh,
So
wow.
there was not enough time. She had somebody who was picking out her outfits for her, and very, they were bodysuits. So it didn't cover the arms, didn't cover the legs, had some tummy coverage, but she was very self conscious about her arms and her legs. So if I was to know that, then I would have been able to really guide her through the wardrobe and have her have some layering pieces like a robe, something that would feel really
Mm.
good on her body so that she could feel good in it. And then we could move maybe later into the shoot into the more scantily clad pieces. But we always start with the most comfortable thing that the client brought to wear so that we can really start that process in their comfort zone and just slowly bring them out of that.
That is so interesting. I had no idea that boudoir had a spectrum. Wow. Talk more about that. I'm fascinated.
Well, and it's funny because it's literally gone from something very, very, very innocent to, combat boots and leather and chains and straps and what so have you, right? So, like, there's a lot of alternative interests on this end of the spectrum. But it's really fun for me to see where people start out and like what their most comfortable outfit is. Because for the
Mhm.
first probably 20, 30 minutes of us working together, that's when I'm really figuring out how you sit comfortably, what your expressions are, how you express emotions, what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you feel uncomfortable. So, in that first piece with that first outfit, that's when I really get a general sense for how I can help you feel as good as possible in your body, because we get to start
Mhm.
with that comfort level. And how can I take that through to the other, maybe more uncomfortable outfits?
Mhm.
But it's always really fun for me to have one outfit that really pushes the limits of your comfort level, so that then you can kind of feel like you did something that really broke you out of your comfort zone and made you feel more like your Sasha Fierce, your alter ego, your highest self, right? What would that person wear if they were comfortable, confident in their bodies, and knew that they could do anything in the world? What would you wear to a boudoir shoot? So that's usually like,
Mhm.
hey, let's have a comfortable outfit, let's have a really uncomfortable outfit, and then let's figure out what in between looks like.
In the middle. Wow, that is fascinating. And I remember that in the beginning of the year, you also came up with this super creative idea that I absolutely loved. And it was the sign, your birth sign. You would transform the person into that birth. Okay, tell us a little bit, because I don't even know how to explain it. All I know is that I love that idea, and I really want us to work together because
Oh yeah.
I love it. So please tell our listeners that about that.
So as a photographer, I am now trying to bridge the gap between just doing what clients need and what really speaks to my heart. And I was
Mhm.
raised as very woo woo. I was raised very alternatively, very into energy, very into astrology. So,
Mhm.
what I've started to do is do zodiac tarot card portrait sessions.
I
So,
love
these
it.
are turning the client into their sun sign and really bringing in elements about their sun sign that they love about themselves. And then, so with this first one, I did a Capricorn. That was the one that you saw. And
Yeah.
it was awesome because I set everything up and everything was laying down on the ground and I shot all the way from above so I could make it more look like 2D, like a tarot card. So I incorporated all the elements and then in Photoshop, probably took me about 8 hours to create all of the elements and cut everything out and really get it to look like a card, but it's this beautiful portrait of a Capricorn in her element, just embracing everything that makes her a Capricorn and all the things that she embraces about her personality with that. And I think it's a really fun way to document something about yourself that's really unique to you. And I think that nobody's doing that. And I wanted to kind of have that compilation. So it's really fun.
Yeah, and I just thought of an idea of a party.
Ooh,
You know, we can have like a birthday party,
right,
not, for those people in that month, they have that sign to make
right.
something like that. That would be so cool.
Yeah, I love a birthday party. I'm totally in. Like, we're going to do the Aries birthday party. Woo!
Yeah, that is some I think that you should pursue that.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
And then you could interact with everybody else that's your same sun sign too and get to know each other's similarities, maybe do icebreakers, little
Exactly.
games that get to know each other. That would be really fun.
Wouldn't it? I
Yeah.
love it. Feel free to use this idea.
Thanks, Camilla. I love that. I love getting inspiration talking to each other. It's awesome.
For sure. And so, talking a little bit about your technical knowledge, so how do you see photography, from when you started to where it is now? Because I've always been interested in photographs, and I remember Kodak, and then you had Polaroid, and then you can't take your camera
The
or the film
giants.
to, yeah. So tell us a little bit about, the history of photography when you started or even before
Yeah.
till now, and what's the future?
Oh, that is such a good question. So, back in the day of film, unfortunately, when I started college, they had just done away with the film piece of the program. So I only got to do one film class, and that was a medium format. So it was like a big, huge camera thing with tripod, not very compact. But back in the day of film photography, you used to have to be very intentional and know exactly the settings, know exactly how your exposure was going to come out because you couldn't just look at the back of the screen. So everything's moving a little bit faster with technology and time. So now, as we get into all this beautiful digital camera mastery, the it's quicker to shoot, but there's also a huge back end when it comes to downloading files, getting the images down to the certain number that you want, and then editing them to the client's liking. So it's photography, I think right now is more of like an instant gratification thing because everybody has a cell
Mm,
phone and everybody has a camera. So when they see a professional camera, they think that it's as easy to get the photos off of that camera as it is their phone camera. When in all reality, it's not because it's not in that same format. We shoot in RAW, which is the most amount of pixels and information that you can get in an image, and that needs to be transferred into a readable file by any other digital product. So I think that in the future, right now, AI tools are really helping. There's some AI tools with editing, with culling, with there's even this device called an arsenal, and it's kind of an AI powered device that you can put on your camera. It helps you get correct exposures or HDR images or panoramas. Like it helps calculate everything to where you'll do it well without having to redo it yourself or overthink or do the calculations. So I think in the future, number one, I think that I definitely have a solid job. I don't think that AI is going to take my job. I know that there are definitely programs out there that can generate some headshots and everything of you if you import 20 photos of yourself. But there's a difference between something that you know isn't you and
mhm.
having the experience of being in front of a camera and having someone photograph you and being vulnerable. So I definitely think that in the future, photography is definitely a thing. I think that AI definitely helps to speed up the post-processing of it and maybe even the taking of the photos. But I definitely feel like photography and videography will be around for a long time because we always want to be authentic to our true selves, no matter how good AI gets.
Hmm. And vulnerability is an important, you know, factor when it comes to really being having a photo that really reflects who you are,
Hmm.
because our outside just reflects our insides, right? And being the professional that can dig that out, like for reals,
Hmm.
it is not something that, you know, a machine or a
No, I
computer
mean,
can do.
look at how many times we take pictures with our friends and we just put the JC Penny smile on, and then we look at the photo and we're like, oh, I don't like that photo because I don't look authentic. But
Right.
it takes a professional who is also an empath to really see you and really to see how to capture you in your best light, because you can't see the faces you make. You can't see what's going on in your body with your micro expression. But I can, and I have
Mhm.
studied I've studied body language, micro expressions, all of the things that go into emotion in the body. So I know how to guide you into that in a loving, vulnerable space with movement, because everybody is awkward in front of the camera when we're stoic, right? If somebody takes your headshot and they say, okay, now square your shoulders and now just turn your head a quarter inch to the left and then drop your chin down, and like you end up in this weird position where you
Yeah,
don't feel good, and then the picture doesn't end up coming out great because they were
that's
too
right.
technical about it,
Yeah,
instead of focusing on how you feel in the
yeah,
image.
yeah.
Who cares if the pose is a little bit off if you have an amazing expression? So, yes, I definitely look at technicalities, how your body looks, how you're feeling, but it really is truly about capturing that unique emotion and expression for sure.
Wow, I love that. I love how much power you bring into your work, Casey. That's amazing.
I never
So
knew
tell
when I started photography that it was
yeah.
this powerful.
No, I've never I knew of your work. I think there was a Nabo photo shoot session that I participated, and that's the first time you photographed me.
Hmm. Those
I
are
had no
so
idea.
hard because I
Yeah,
only get like 5 minutes with each
I
person. So
know. Yeah.
I love those because I get to interact with new people and all that, but it's not the impact that I want to have. I would much rather have
Hmm.
half an hour, 20 minutes with you than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that is so powerful. I'm gonna rethink everything about photography now.
I love that. I love
Um,
rethinking all of it. It's
yeah,
all
for
our perception,
sure.
right? And it's all about
Yeah,
education of clients too, because especially with what you do, with what I do, there's so much back end information that people don't take into account. So it's just the
yeah,
constant educating and informing and helping them make the right decision for them.
yeah, and it's so valuable. All this studying that you've done, you know, this investment in the person and their micro expressions and their body language. Are all photographers like that? Do they all study those topics?
No, I think, well, there's such, again, like the boudoir spectrum, right? There's a huge spectrum of types of photographers, and a lot of photographers are actually introverts because they get to be behind the camera and hide.
Hmm.
So I
Well,
think
I know you're
it's
not an introvert,
right.
Casey.
So I think that it's part that I love portraiture. A lot of people try to do product or food or events or whatever, so they don't have to interact as much.
Mm.
I know I have worked with photographers that made me feel so uncomfortable in my body.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
that really just motivated me and spurred me on to just keep doing what I'm doing and keep having the impact that I'm having on people because of the experiences I've had with other photographers. I
mhm,
think that most photographers are really out for one good photo or the shot that is in their head that's technical, and they're not in it for the experience of the actual client. They're more in it for
mhm.
the photography. And I'm in it for the best experience possible for the client with amazing photos you can look back on.
Wow, that is so cool. That really sets you apart from your competitors out there. That's for sure. Very cool. And last question, how do you get involved in our community, Casey? How do you contribute to our community?
Thankfully, I've lived here since I was 5. So I have been involved in so many different nonprofits, organizations, causes that really speak to my heart in Vegas. I work with communities and schools all the time. They are really helping the at-risk schools have the opportunity that other children have that they may not have had in the first place. And I've gotten to photograph multiple kids that graduated high school that never could afford a photo shoot before. I've got to donate services for them, donate services to their award ceremonies. I've worked with the National Association of Women Business Owners. They're absolutely amazing. Gotten to photograph events for them. I've worked with the Ink Ribbon Foundation, the Cupcake Girls, so many nonprofits that are in town that speak to what my heart thinks that this world needs. So I've gotten to have a really cool impact with my passion, which is really, really cool because I think photography has gotten me into places and spaces and in front of people that I wouldn't have gotten the chance to be in front of without the camera. So being able to partner with all these organizations and causes has really opened up my eyes to the need in the world and how much more impact I can have. So it's like this constant cycle of how can I help? How can I be here? What else can I do? And how can I support? But then there's also the boundary conversation, right? So being able to not do as much about passion and cause to a detriment of myself, because if I could be, I would just be a philanthropist, but I'm not a trust fund kid, so I don't have that option. So I get to work, which is fabulous, and I get to have people value me for the impact that I make on them, and then also get to choose causes that really speak to my heart that I can use my extra time for.
Cool. That's awesome. And so how can people find you if they want to hire Casey Jade? Tell us a little bit about how they can find you.
I'm everywhere, so you can Google me, you can go on InstaSpace, but I'm Casey Jade or Casey Jade Studios on all photography stuff. My personal Instagram is highestself.me because it's my personal journey of growing into my highest self and helping others come along with me on that. And then my website is caseyjadephoto.com.
And do you want to reveal your phone number or would you rather not?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it's on Google, 702-856-9065. Texting is better than calling, so text first. Usually calling doesn't go through as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate all the wonderful insights and educational moments that we've had in this podcast, and I will for sure bring you back soon.
Thanks, Camilla. So nice to see you.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Appreciate you.